How did I model Richard Bandler, and how can you model him too if you wish to accelerate your progress with NLP and covert hypnosis? You know, a lot of people, most people who come to my channel come here because they have seen my breakdowns of Richard Bandler. And there is a great advantage into reproducing and modeling somebody like him. It is that there are so many techniques in NLP. Very often beginners are lost and confused because it's overwhelming. The benefit of modeling somebody like him is that by contrast, you will figure out very rapidly what is the main essential technique or skill you miss by contrast to get to his level. What is the essential thing you miss right now? It allows you to simplify and reduce to model somebody way more advanced than you. It allows you to simplify and reduce what you actually need. Now, I already have a pretty big program on my website about modeling, but I have created this program after like 5 or 6 years down the road, or even 7 years into NLP. Back when I first modeled Richard Bandler, I didn't have such an understanding of how modeling works, of all the subtleties, of how to create a simple methodology to go from start to finish. I didn't have that yet. So what I did back then was way more simple, and this is what I am going to share with you in this video so that you can yourself become like this crazy guy.
Shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. And if you do it long enough, maybe you will.
So without using all those complex methods, hypnosis stuff, very simple, what I was doing in the very beginning was just basic, pure imitation. And I know it may sound oversimplified, but that is really what it gets down to. Even when Bandler and Grinder did that back in the day with Milton Erickson, Fritz Perls, I think it was in the very beginning, then later came Erickson. What Bandler was doing at some point was nothing more than pure imitation, and then reproducing from the best he could what the guy was doing. Then obviously for NLP modeling, there are a lot more things coming down the road, coming into play. But when you are just a beginner, you just have no very advanced skills, start simple. So I was just very basically reproducing, imitating his voice, his tonality, his gestures, his tonality, his words. And of course, I was never exactly like him, but just forcing yourself, training yourself to imitate somebody will help your mind to figure out what is the main thing I am missing to get to that kind of behavior.
Talk to yourself nice, and nice things will happen.
Talk to yourself nice, and nice things will happen. So as I said, of course, I'm not nowhere near his exact body language, voice tonality, but just training my own physiology to appear and to sound like him was allowing my brain to start to figure out, actually, if I do this, it was developing my intuition and started to think like him as much as I could back in the day. But it would very soon train my intuition into understanding, actually, I could do this that way. Actually, what if I was doing this that way? It was training me to figure out more and more things of what he was doing as I was progressing in my own journey into mastering NLP. Then the second step I used, that you can use too, is once you start to get some imprint, some understanding of how does this physiology works, how does this voice tonality sounds, once you get some imprint of this into your own body, you want to get the simplest possible kinesthetic memorization, kinesthetic imprint of how does it feel. For me, it was very simple. I noticed every time I was trying to imitate him, I had some movement with the corner of my mouth like this that he does in a lot of his videos. You can see him doing this kind of micro gesture in a lot of videos. And I had some balancing of the shoulders and balancing of the body. Not as broad as this, but like some small balancing. I noticed this kind of movement was always being reproduced. I was always reproducing that movement and that mouth thing whenever I was imitating him. So this became, for myself, my own personal encore for getting into the Bandler state, into which I had more access to how a guy like him would think or would act during that situation I was into. And this is very personal because just because those encores work for me doesn't mean it will work for you. You have to find your own. How does your personal body, how does your physiology imprints that behavior into itself? Then the next step, and it was an ongoing process, it was not to be done just one time, but it was an ongoing process. Then I would get into a conversation or a therapy session or wherever I wanted to use covert hypnosis, and I would start to do whatever I had to do with the person in front of me until I get stuck somewhere, until I get to the point of, oh shit, I don't know what else, I don't know what else I can say, what else I can do, I'm just lost. Whenever I was hitting that spot of confusion, not knowing what to do, I would do that encore like this with the person, not too broad to not frighten the person in front of me, but just a little bit. And doing this was allowing my brain to switch back into the Bandler state, if we can call it that way, to switch back into that physiology, that mindset he has, that I had been training myself to reproduce. I could switch back into that resourceful mindset, and therefore my intuition always got fired up. I would always get some new intuition of, oh, actually I could say this, oh, let's do that, oh, let's do this induction. That's how I was training my brain to develop more and more acuity on how this genius would be handling that situation I had at hand that I could not handle by myself. And it was always working with great results. And the last important point to remember to know about is that two different people modeling Richard Bandler or anybody else will probably have different models of what he does. Simply because if you want to model somebody like him personally or anybody else, it is because you have some problem you want to solve right now. Maybe you want to be a successful hypnotist and you're not a one right now, or you want to develop your skills, or you have some childhood trauma that you want to take care of and you don't know how. But everybody who models somebody like him will have different goals associated with that project of modeling Richard Bandler, which means that the results, the techniques you're going to uncover by doing that yourself are probably not going to be the ones exactly that I found out, because you are going to find things that are related to your personal problem and to the goals you have by engaging into that project of modeling. So only take what you need, only focus on what you need, and delete all the things that are not relevant for you. Focus on very specific things, what you need personally, even if in some book they say you need this or that, yeah, but only do things that relate to your problem personally. This is how you will get to a much better level in life, in doing the thing you want to do the most. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I have a complete program on modeling. If you want to check it out, it is in the description, where I show you a whole methodology to go from start to finish into modeling somebody and replicating the skill that person has yourself. Depending on how complex that skill is, it may not happen in just 1 week, it may take like 6 months, depends on where you started from and where you want to get to. However, it is always possible, no matter who is the model you want to replicate, and no matter that you have met that person in real or just through videos, it works the same.